You ready to see Matt Walsh lay down his usual logical and quite simple and effectively simple arguments against this insane gender ideology that has been plaguing our nation? Let's check it out. But first, real quick, just please be sure to like our video, share it, and subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. I'm your host, Darian. All right, let's get right into it.
So I'd like to say that I'm actually a part of that organization that was going to come and try and derail you tonight. I didn't hear a single thing, though, that constituted an attack on queer or trans lives or an attack on me personally. So I don't know what they were on about there.
Okay, sorry, real quick. I just have to say this. This guy seems like a nice dude, by the way, so nothing against him. And you'll see, he identifies himself as trans later in the clip, so I'm not just making this up, but he kind of looks like, y'all know Milo Yiannopoulos? That's like the left-wing Milo Yiannopoulos right there. You know, it's got the kind of the guy got the hair going. Mannerisms, I don't know, you know, not incredibly different, I would argue personally. Yeah, no, I just thought that was a little funny. It kind of reminds me of Milo. No hate against both of them, you know, they're both nice guys as far as I know. So yeah, let's keep going.
Moreover, everything that you have said on gender identity, gender expression, John Money, pronoun usage, what else? The sex gender distinction, you are 100% correct.
Wow.
You are 100% correct. I don't know if you've ever heard that from a trans person before. I identify as a trans woman. You are 100% correct on there. And it is an absolute travesty that the trans community bases everything on such vacuous concepts.
Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't see that coming. That was pretty crazy. So yeah, you know, he does seem pretty cool from what I can see. He mentions John Money, who Matt Walsh, of course, talks about in his speech and has talked about in his What is a Woman documentary and various other public appearances of his. So John Money, to give you an idea of who that was, if you don't know, total scumbag. Okay, John Money, very famously, he was one of the people who kind of pioneered these sex change surgeries, particularly on children. So that's who John Money is. If you don't know about him, I highly recommend you read more into him. Just an evil, evil man, scourge of American society, one could say. So yeah, let's keep going.
My thing is, though, is I don't agree with your conclusion. I don't agree with it. But more so, the reason why I don't is less a matter of argumentation and more so a matter of method. You've stated time and time again that your approach to this is to try and keep things simple and uncomplicated, as in you don't try and engage with the nuance of the position of trans people. But that's exactly how my org treats you. They don't think that you're...
Quick little pause there. He says, you don't try to engage in the nuance that the trans side is pushing. So this is nonsense. What nuance? All right, what's the nuance to we have male and we have female? There's no nuance to that. This idea that we have male and female, it doesn't make any sense. It's very simple, and I'm sure Matt Walsh would probably agree with this. You either have the men have the pee-pee, and women don't. Okay, we got XY, XX. Very simple concepts we're talking about here. So, I mean, this whole, it's kind of this is a real overcomplication. And you'll see this is a common leftist tactic where they'll start talking in all fancy terms and academic terms. And, well, you got to look at this and that, and you're oversimplifying it. And it's like, no, this is a simple thing. I can walk outside and look at the sky. It's blue. It's not purple. Very simple. Let's keep going.
Your arguments are worth looking at because they cast you as a transphobe. I did otherwise. I looked, I'm like, yeah, no, this guy's absolutely correct on all these things.
So which conclusion are you? You said you disagree with my conclusions.
Well, it's the conclusion that of the model that you're postulating of gender, of that it's just this, you have man, woman, they're biologically contingent. My sort of question is, do you think that defaulting to simplicity, if this is the most dire issue of the age, which is something else that I agree with you on, do you really think that a method of simply recoursing to the most simplistic matter of approach is what we should be doing here?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Because,
Okay, based. So I just love how he asked this question like it's a gotcha. Like, do you really think the most simple thing is really what should we be talking about here? And Matt Walsh, yes. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's really not that complicated, in terms of just differentiating it. It really isn't. We got man, you got woman. It's that simple. It's, something I think we should, an important question to ask all of these activists who push this crazy gender ideology and, transgenderism, this idea that you can just shift your gender or whatever. It's I mean, a very simple question to ask is, let's get back to the video.
I appreciate I appreciate everything that you said, and I appreciate your attitude. I very rarely encounter your attitude from that side of the ideological aisle. So I appreciate that. But
cool,
yeah, I do think that making it simple is the right approach because, to my view, it is a very simple question. Now, if you want to get into the personal experiences of each individual and someone who is who's experiencing gender dysphoria and what do we do to treat that problem? Sure, there's all kinds of personal, subjective nuances and things like that. If my child came to me and said that they were confused about their identity, I wouldn't just say, get out of my face. I would want to sit down and talk to them. And that's when you get into, that becomes a sort of an interpersonal exchange. And so you get into some of those personal nuances and everything, and that's fine. But the underlying fact, the underlying reality is simple, that there are only males and females in the human race. There are no other categories. There is no third sex. It doesn't exist. Even though we hear about intersex people, an actual intersex person would be someone who has the reproductive capacities.
Right, and you look at this, Matt Walsh mentions there's just male and female. A very simple question you can ask these, LGBT activists, trans activists, whatever you want to call them, how many genders are there, right? Because they say there's male and female, and they say, and they'll inevitably say infinite or something to that effect. Oh, it's a spectrum, whatever. So you follow up with, okay, well, can you name a few? We have male and female. Can you name, I don't know, 3 other genders since it's a spectrum? Surely you can name just 3. And then, watch them crumble and either get angry, run away. Maybe they'll call you a racist. I don't even know. You get some kind of peculiar reaction to that. So, just something to consider.
Of both men and women, males and females. Such a person has never existed, ever. So what I see here is a binary system, and in that way, it's very simple, and I think that has to be our message.
I would still even say, respective to that even if, from your standpoint, there's only this binary, there's 2. There's complexities and nuances even within social navigation that still might be worth you looking into. I would also say that a lot of your facts also are off, respective to, for instance, the first sexual reassignment surgery actually happened in the 1920s. So that was before John Money. So it's not a case that
I didn't say his was the first.
What?
I didn't say his was the first. It was probably the first one done on a 2-year-old, but I said he was the one who...
Did you hear that? Probably the first one done on a 2-year-old. It's just, it's sickening. Can you imagine doing that to a child? Prison for all of them, as far as I'm concerned. The parents, the so-called doctor. It's ironic. I mean, I can go about that all day, so I won't. But this idea that a doctor, they're supposed to be someone who protects you, safeguards you, promotes your health. They're the ones going and doing this disgusting stuff. Mutilating children. Even adults. I mean, it's still gross, but it's even worse when it's children, obviously. They're doing that, and they have the gall to say they're here practicing medicine. They're there to heal you, make you feel better. Meanwhile, they're profiting off of destruction. That's crazy to me.
You started by saying you agree with everything I said, and now we're going back and you disagree. I'm a little confused now.
My point is that if you have it to where you can get to a different conclusion from the same arguments, it means that there might be something deeper going on here that for people who are actually philosophers, not rhetoricians, need to be dealing with.
Okay, we got to move to the next question, but let me just ask you this so we can clarify where we are. Do you agree that there are only males and females in the...
I will say that rhetorician thing, I think that guy, our little Milo doppelganger there, he might be a rhetorician himself. Just saying.
Human race.
No.
Okay, so you definitely don't agree with my conclusion then at all.
No.
We actually are totally on opposite sides of this question, it turns out. Okay, so what are the other categories if not male and female?
We are going to be here all night if I have to doing that.
We're not, because there's none that you can list, so it's actually a very short conversation.
All right, well...
Oh! Thug life moment right there. He says we're going to be here all day, Matt Walsh. Well, no, you can't answer, so it's pretty quick. Facts. Or as Matt Walsh's Daily Wire friend would say, Ben Shapiro, Facts don't care about your feelings.
Wanted to say that you have these other social categories, right? It's a question of, you're saying are, right? So the question here for me would be one of ontology, insofar as we're trying to posit that there is some kind of specificity, right? And you would look at something like intersex and say that this is like some kind of weird border case, right? But it's a question of the kind of continuum that would allow for one to come into an embodiment that you would cast as male and female. I mean, something that's very interesting is you said that something like age is makes more sense to identify as. You at one point had, what is it? Female genitalia when you were in utero. So you've passed through that, right? And what happens to intersex people is that there's just some kind of like different, there's a different of development that occurs there. So respective to us talking about these categories, it's not a case of there being this hard line thing. I mean, the reason why we also are not going to get anywhere here is because I actually would agree with you that something like woman is what would, in a technical sense, be called a floating signifier. So it doesn't have this like particular designatable meaning.
Okay, so I don't know what they're agreeing on with that, because it sounds like there's very little agreement from what he was saying. But floating signifier? Sorry, guys, what planet is this guy on? I must be planet Krypton or Mars or I don't know, something, because I'm not speaking this guy's language. I'm confused. And then he was saying they would agree, but they also, you know, he's not even giving a definition for woman and saying it can change or whatever. Don't think Matt Walsh agrees with that. Matt Walsh very clearly said in that documentary, what is a woman? Adult, human, female. So, yeah, I don't know. A little confused about that. Let's keep going.
Right?
All right.
So that's why we're not going to go anywhere.
That's pretty clear. But I appreciate it. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for this video. Hey, you know, at the end of the day, it was, do I think that guy's arguments were a little absurd? Yes, I absolutely do. I think I made that clear. But, you know, he was a nice guy and he was willing to engage in dialogue. And, hey, we love that. I think that's a great thing. So, hey, cool dude. You know, glad he was there. Sure he'd be a cool person to have a conversation with, whatever. And we look forward to seeing more reaction videos coming up soon. So if you guys have anything that you want to suggest, just let us know.